We'll take it from here.
Hello and welcome to another episode of We'll Take It From Here. This episode is the Ghost Rider film from 2007, the supernatural superhero film starring Johnny Blaze. I'm Holden, aka Cuban Thor.
And this is Father Malone, also known as Michael.
Michael, before we get into our main topic, I would just like to say thank you for everybody who is listening. Please follow us and subscribe on Podbean. We are We'll Take It From Here podcast show. I don't know what we're going by, WTIFHS on Twitter and on Instagram, everywhere. Checks out.
All those things.
Yes, and like I said, before we get into our main topic, let's talk about the happenings going on in the world today.
Happenings.
What's happening, hot stuff?
Let me tell you what's going to happen.
I think the number one thing right now that everybody's talking about seems to be the Han Solo movie issues. Now, let me break it down just before we get some reactions in. Basically, what happened is that Disney and Lawrence Kasdan and who's the other girl?
Kathleen Kennedy,
you know, the people who made good Star Wars movies decided, hey, Phil Lord and what's the guy?
Chris Miller.
Chris Miller and Phil Lord. I'm not prepared for this.
That's okay. That's why I'm here.
There you go. They decided, we don't like the direction of your movie, that you're taking our Han Solo movie, so goodbye. Like, just get out. Like, leave. You're great and everything, but don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out.
3 weeks before filming was to end.
They
did
weeks
this.
before ending, yeah. And just before some reshoots and all that stuff going on, after they filmed a good, huge chunk of the movie, they decided, nope, we don't want you here anymore. Michael, what do you think about that?
Good.
Why, Michael? Why?
Whatever makes the movie good, man. That's all I care about. A couple things, though. I think it's weird that they hired two guys who are known for improv and comedy.
Yeah.
And then are like, why are you making an improv and comedy movie? That's not what we signed you up for. So that's a bit unusual. However, if Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote Empire Strikes Back and knows Han Solo and made the Han Solo we know and love better than anybody, says, you're fucking this movie up, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it right now. And it's my understanding that he actually went to England and, like, confronted them, and they were like, well, okay, we'll shoot it your way, which they did perfunctorily. They would just, like, hit the scene as he had written, and then they went right back to improv. So they kind of signed their own death warrant there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, and coming from a perspective that isn't all, like, you know, angry, you know, don't mess with my Star Wars, I completely agree. I don't see the big deal of them firing somebody that they don't think is doing a good job. And especially when it's the people who made good Star Wars movies are saying, hey, we don't like it.
Yeah.
Don't do this. Don't do that. And I think what Star Wars, Lucasfilm was trying to do, they were trying to do exactly what Marvel did when hiring the Russo brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get the next Russo brothers to take a little bit of comedy in, but cut it into our fabulous world. It worked with the Russo brothers because I feel like the Russo brothers came in hat in hand, like, hey, we're coming off a Community. We don't really have a lot of movie experience. We'll listen to you guys and let's blend in and have our moments together. Whereas I feel like with these two guys who just got released off the Han Solo movie, they made the Lego movie, which was a huge success.
Yeah.
They have a huge success with that Fox TV show Last Man on Earth. They've had success, so I think they had a little bit more, I don't want to call the Russo brothers spineless at all, but they have more of like some gumption behind them because, hey, we had success. You guys should be listening to us.
Yeah.
So, and it's nothing against them. I don't think either side is really wrong here. They wanted to go a certain direction with their movie. The other people didn't like that, so you split ways. And then, of course, we get Ron Howard to kind of replace it. But I feel like Ron Howard's just kind of like a figurehead, and Kasdan and Kennedy are going to be like everything on set. Like, okay, what's going on? Let's make sure we have Han Solo be Han Solo, not Ace Ventura and stuff like that. So
yeah, I think. Well, I think it'll be a little. Ron Howard will have a bit more of a stronger place as far as directing the movie. I mean, obviously he's going to adhere more to what Lawrence Kasdan wants. I think there's some rules in effect that say you can't replace somebody on a movie and then have somebody already involved in the movie be the replacement, which is
right.
why Lawrence Kasdan himself isn't directing it, because he's a hell of a director too. But, I think Ron Howard will bring something good to it. I like Ron Howard. He's had some bad movies, but he's had some really good movies. So, and, you can't deny the fact that he started out with George Lucas back in American Graffiti. So I'm sure he's always wanted to get his hands on a Star Wars film.
Yeah, I believe he actually also directed the movie for Lucasfilm as well.
He did Willow.
Willow, yeah, that's right.
So if anyone knows George Lucas's sort of style, it's going to be this guy.
Are they going to delay this movie, you think?
No.
No, they're going to keep
that, and I think that's why they got Ron Howard, because he can film a movie and get it in under budget and get it in on time. So I'm sure those reshoots that they had scheduled are going to be a lot more extensive than they were letting on. They're saying like it was going to be 5 weeks of reshoots. I imagine it'll probably go longer than that, because I imagine he'll want to reshoot a lot of the stuff that wasn't working. From what I've read, they were getting dailies back the entire time, and the dailies looked good to everybody, but then they did the first assembly cut of what they had, and they realized, oh, well, this is not what we wanted at all. This is now a comedy.
The main reason why I really feel like I'm not worried about this at all, not an exact thing happened at on Rogue One, but, I believe the director for Rogue One got asked to step aside for a little bit and have somebody else come in and take over the movie, and then you have a whole situation with the Justice League movie being taken over by Joss Whedon because of the tragedy that happened to Zack Snyder and everything like that in his personal life. I don't get why everybody's oh, this is crazy, this is ridiculous, when I have two examples right there where something similar happened, not to this extent, this extreme, where you film majority of the movie and you're fired. In the grand scheme of things, I don't think we're going to be talking about this when we talk about a Han Solo movie. I think what we're going to be talking about is how great Donald Glover is, how great the actor they have for Han Solo, and what kind of story it was. I don't think this whole director thing is going to be really carried on much further, except for really hardcore fans about this. Yeah, it's silly.
It'll be a footnote about it. It'll be something that everyone, for years ago, well, they had to replace the directors, but it's not going to matter. As long as the movie's good, who cares? I'm sure Eric Stoltz would have been a great Marty McFly, but they had to make the decision to get Michael J. Fox instead. You know what I mean? So now, it's exactly what you said. People will say, Eric Stoltz was originally going to be Marty McFly, and they filmed most of the movie with him. Who cares?
Yeah, well, and again, it's hindsight right there, for sure. Where you're like, wow, I can't picture anybody else.
Right.
Anyway, alright, I think that's pretty well covered.
Yeah.
Alright, moving on. I mentioned Edgar Wright just a few minutes ago. What did you think of Baby Driver? I haven't seen it yet. Sell me on the movie.
It's massively good. It's an amazing movie. It's been too long since we've had an Edgar Wright movie. I'm glad he's back, and I'm glad this is the movie he did. It is the most musical film in years. People keep talking about La La Land last year because it was sort of a traditional musical. This is more of a musical than that movie was.
Really?
I mean, from top to bottom, man. I mean, obviously it isn't characters breaking out into song, which is welcome, but the music choices are wall to wall. I haven't heard this much music in a film since Goodfellas with Martin Scorsese. Just it never ends because the lead character never stops listening to music. But then on top of that, the entire film is shot and edited in a really musical way, to the point where during gunfights the bullets are being fired in the rhythm of the song you're hearing. It's pretty impressive.
Oh, I'm sold. That sounds great. I was already sold kind of to begin with because the trailers have looked great and everything, and I believe I've even mentioned on this podcast that I'm sold on this movie. So, again, I'm glad to hear it. I can't wait to actually go see it. Some good impressions for Valerian has come out on social media. Nothing really too much we got to talk about, but I just like to mention it because it looks like they're going to take a beginning scene or two, maybe 10 minutes of it, and attach it to Spiderman Homecoming.
Smart thinking.
Which is very smart thinking. And speaking of Spider-Man Homecoming, wow, the review embargo has lifted, and it's crazy. And I'm not super into reading into reviews. If I think a movie's interesting, even if it gets bad reviews, I'll go see it. But if a movie gets trashed, I have a little bit more of a worry, oh, maybe I won't like it. It's exciting because we haven't had a good Spider-Man movie since Amazing. No, not Amazing. Excuse me.
No.
The Sam Raimi Spider-Man number 2.
Spider-Man 2, yeah.
It's been 15 years?
At least.
And before we get into more of the Marvel news, because we are doing a Marvel movie, so we do have a little heaviness of Marvel news to talk about in our happenings.
Like we do every week.
It's all Marvel now!
Yep. We're going to rename it We'll Take It From Marvel.
We'll Take It From Marvel. Oh, I would totally do that podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, the Inhumans trailer looks horrible.
Terrible.
Well, we need to do we'll take it from here on in the Inhuman series, and I haven't even watched the Inhuman series. How do you mess this up?
You hire Scott Buck as the showrunner. Scott Buck, the new name for mediocrity in all things television. Ruined Dexter, ruined Iron Fist, and now he's going to ruin the Inhumans.
It's a superpower show, man. Like, Black Bolt, at least he looks good. I think it's a good casting choice of Anson Mount, which my girlfriend now loves Anson Mount more than anything on this earth. It's driving me crazy. He's a good-looking guy. But
Why?
I don't know,
Is he that good-looking?
I guess.
He's okay looking.
We're watching Hell on Wheels because of this.
He's a very indistinct looking guy.
Yeah, whatever. He reminds me of Viggo Mortensen. He's like the TV version of Viggo Mortensen.
He's the radio version of Viggo Mortensen.
Hey.
It's not great, man.
Right. But then you have Medusa, who looks awful. It just looks awful in the show. I'm not entirely sure if I can blame Scott Buck and Marvel and all these people, because the character itself just seems like it'll be really hard to do. But then again, I said the same thing about Ghost Rider on the TV show, and they made Ghost Rider look great. So,
yeah, there you go.
I mean, there you go. Lockjaw looks awful. It just looks like a puppy that they filmed in a different location, and then they superimposed it into this clip, into this trailer. Karnak looks cool.
Yes, Ken Leung, who's always great.
Yeah.
I heard he was in it. That made me very happy. But then I saw the trailer, and I'm like, oh.
And then
no.
Maximus the Mad looks cool. I don't like the main characters except for 3 of them, and there's supposed to be a huge ensemble cast for this show. It's not looking good so far.
Yeah, didn't Adelan look a little bit underpopulated to you? It's supposed to be their entire civilization, and there's maybe 20 people in a room. I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
In this trailer, they show a panel of Inhuman people, and they're all normal looking.
Yeah.
They're just people. Guys, you already did something in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with a lower budget than the Inhuman show. Why can't you make it as good as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I don't understand.
Another thing I think is really funny is it looks so cheap, and they're like, oh, come see it in IMAX. I'm like, wow, so we can see it at a drive-in theater size screen cheap? It's going to look so bad on a big screen.
It's funny, I was watching this trailer, and at one point in time I was like, you know what? I've seen that scene in Lost. So ABC is filming another show in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And they're going to use those really good panoramic cameras.
Including Ken Leung, who is on Lost.
Yeah, and then they're going to use... they're making Lost the Inhumans. What's going on? The others were Inhumans, apparently.
What?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's how I feel like.
Oh, okay.
Remember on Lost, there's the others?
Yes.
Well, now the others are apparently Inhumans.
Oh, right, okay. I thought you meant, if you go back and watch Lost, you'll realize that those characters are actually Inhumans.
How great of a retcon that would be, though.
That would be weird,
the show a little bit. The better news, though, is we have some good things about Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah. We
got some set photos. We got all these guys, all the characters we want to see together are actually together. We have Iron Man and Doctor Strange, Wong and Hulk. And it's what an interesting concept this is going to be of a film.
Yeah, did you read that interview with Scarlett Johansson? She said, she had just come from the set. There were 30 superheroes on the set at one time.
Crazy. I don't think everybody's going to have, a big role or anything like that. I doubt we even see everybody for longer than 5 minutes.
Right, but who cares?
But, who cares?
As long as they're there.
As long as, there's some stakes and some people get taken out. If Vision does not die, which it would make no sense for Vision not to die. As much as I like Paul Bettany as Vision, he's got a stone plugged into his head. This dude needs to go.
Yeah,
he's going to go.
Obviously, Thanos has to get that.
And then I think Scarlet Witch will either go with him or break down, and they can do House of M that way, which would be awesome. Oh, hey, actually, I just got information right now via Twitter. It looks like Sam Jackson is going to have a bigger role in the Marvel movie, which is awesome. I don't know how it's going to deal with the character, and it's not really worth commenting now too heavily, but it's good to see Sam Jackson, aka Nick Fury, in the movie again.
Yeah, man, where's he been? Hanging out in farmhouses, fixing tractors. What's he doing? Get out of here. Get back in the game, man.
The last time we've seen him was the Age of Ultron, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't pop up at Civil War at all. Which, a cameo or something... I think that was the only thing... My only critique of Civil War, which was a fantastic film, was the fact that Nick Fury wasn't in it at all.
Did they even mention him at all?
I think they mentioned him, maybe just Fury like, oh, this Fury doesn't run things anymore, Captain America type of thing like that.
Yeah, but like no characters at one point went, hey, where's Nick stand on this? Let's go talk to him.
Or like when they were listing off, where's Thor? Where's Hulk? It could have been like, where's Nick? Like, they could have done something like that. All right, well, whatever. I think it's time for us to get into our main topic of Ghost Rider. The movie from 2007. To give you a little brief synopsis, this supernatural superhero film, stunt motorcyclist Johnny Blaze gives up his soul to become a hell-blazing vigilante to fight against power-hungry Blackheart, the son of the devil himself. Written and directed by Mark Steven Johnson, the man who brought us Grumpy Old Men.
Oh, so good.
And the fantastically horrible... No, actually, it's just horrible. Daredevil film in 2003.
Well, you didn't like that?
I did not like that movie at all.
What, are you crazy?
As a big-time Daredevil fan, I am not a fan of that movie at all. And it was funny, because that's one of those films where when you first see it and you're really a fan of the property, you're like, oh, I like it. Oh, you know what? It's not bad. You know, it's fine. I'm okay with it. Like how a lot of people are about Fantastic Four. Like, oh, you know what? It's not that bad of a film. Now, after we have the Netflix show, that movie is garbage.
With a capital G. Which rhymes with D.
I need something bigger than a capital G, man. Like it's a fucking horrible movie. All right, let's go ahead and get into the plot of this movie so everybody can just know and get this over with, because there's not much there.
The plot of the movie is Johnny Blaze is a stunt rider.
End of movie.
Yeah, that was it. Everyone enjoy it? So Johnny Blaze is and his father, Barton Blaze, are a stunt cycle duo at the Quentin Traveling Carnival. They do bike tricks and stuff, but in the big top. And Johnny's in love with this girl named Roxanne, who they never really get into her, what she's even doing there. Like, is she a local? Does she travel with them? Like, anyway.
Hold on. You are completely right. They get into nothing about why she's there at all. She has no reason to be there.
No.
She's just the girlfriend of somebody. Does she even have a parent in the movie?
No.
What the hell?
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it always bothered me.
God.
Anyway, so Johnny's father, Barton, is dying of cancer. The devil, not technically the devil, it's a character. In this movie, it's called Mephistopheles, but it's Johnny's old foe in the comics, Mephisto, played by Peter Fonda, who's great.
Yeah, it's funny, just to quickly pause you for 1 second. The first time you see Mephisto in this movie, the lightning crashes, right, and you see his shadow.
Fantastic.
Great scene.
Great.
Until you notice Peter Fonda's shadow is in the scene as well.
Oh, that's too bad.
It's kind of bright and out there. So once you see it, you can never not.
No, I'm going to see it next time I watch it. No way.
It's really funny, actually. Yeah.
But that's a great. The shadow moment is great.
But to continue on, Johnny Blaze as a young man.
Yeah.
Does he perform in the show?
Yes.
Okay, they say he performs in the show, right?
No, we see it.
We see it?
When we first meet them, they're doing a stunt, and then he's sort of showboating after the fact,
You're right.
And then his father sort of takes him to task for that.
And then he obviously learns the news about his father by picking something out of the trash.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
And it's perfectly fine in the trash, by the way. Like, nothing's on it.
Yeah, it's a little crumpled. It's crumpled enough to tempt someone to unfold it and read it.
What's this going on? I don't understand the beginning of this movie at all. So, Roxy and Johnny are going to run away, correct? Because they're, two lovers that can't be together for some strange reason, even though her parents are nowhere near there. And now that he learned of his father's cancer, he's going to stick around, or I guess, right?
They don't really get that far. I mean, he hasn't. He doesn't really change his plans necessarily. Mephisto shows up and is like, "Hey, I want to offer you a deal." It's later because Nicolas Cage is so old in this movie. He's clearly in his mid-40s, and Johnny Blaze is supposed to be a guy in his 20s. Right. But anyway,
and then we're introduced to Johnny Blaze wearing a white jumpsuit with flames.
Right. Well, he's like Evel Knievel now.
Yeah, he's an Evel Knievel type, wearing the cowboy hat with a thick, Southern accent that wasn't there when he was a kid.
Yeah, that's a big problem I have with this movie. I don't know why Johnny is suddenly Southern. First of all, the character's history, he's from Illinois.
Yeah.
His father doesn't talk with a Southern accent. The kid doesn't talk with a Southern accent. But, Nicolas Cage is making choices, quote unquote. Air quotes, everybody. Forgot something. Okay, yes. The movie actually opens with a prologue where we're told how in the Old West, the servant of the devil, the original Ghost Rider, was supposed to deliver the contract with the souls of thousands of people to the town of San Venganza, and then decided at the last second, no, I'm not going to. You can't have these souls, devil. And then he rode off. So now that's going to be the MacGuffin for the movie.
San Venganza.
Oh, Saint Vengeance.
God, that's right. I forgot about that stupid prologue.
Okay, so anyway.
But hey, it's narrated by Sam Elliott. At least that's
always welcome.
Yeah, Sam Elliott and anything.
Well, you know, from there we go to, like we said, Johnny Blaze is doing stunts, and he gets into a horrific accident, which obviously should have killed him, but doesn't. He's got a pit crew, including Donald Logue, who's always the second banana in Marvel movies. He was one of Stephen Dorff's minions in Blade, the first Blade movie.
You're right. That's what I recognize from him. That's funny, and they used him in this movie too. I mean, different production companies. And
Deacon Frost, that was Stephen Dorff's.
It was.
Anyway, so now the plot kicks in. The San Venganza thing comes back because Mephisto has a son named Blackheart, who's a pretty major character in the comics, and he comes to Earth and he wants to make hell on Earth. I was shocked at how close to Constantine the plot of this movie was.
I was about to say, this sounds really familiar.
Yeah. So Blackheart shows up, which I really liked his introduction scene, actually.
Oh, the fire?
Yeah, the raining fire out in the middle of the desert.
I will say, there's some cool visuals in this movie.
We meet Blackheart. He shows up at like a Hell's Angels hangout, and he goes in and basically kills everybody. And he meets the Hidden, they're called, which are 3 other fallen angels who have hidden themselves in the elements of the earth. So there's an earth spirit, a water spirit, and a wind spirit. Which,
to me, all I can think about is like a punk rock band, the Blackheart and the Cronies.
Yeah.
Like that's all I'm thinking about. Like they're gonna go on a U.S. tour in a white little van with like them and their instruments, and like they're eating KFC and all those things like that.
That would have been cool, because then at least they would be dressed like normal people blending in, as opposed to like some guy's idea of what like an 80s heavy metal band would be. Just like, it's so bad with dreadlocks and high collared jackets, and it's terrible.
It's hair metal meets punk rock, and it's just not a good combination at all.
Not at all.
I don't think they tried very much on the Stylist.
And given the pantheon of villains that Ghost Rider has, why are you making up new ones? These guys don't exist in the comics at all. So obviously Mark Steven Johnson figured like, oh, I'll go one better. Anyway, he didn't do one better. He did one worse.
Something that bugs me, too,
3 worse,
is if Blackheart is such a badass, why does he need help?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because they need Ghost Rider to win every battle, but not defeat Blackheart. So he starts taking them out one by one. It's so that they can have many skirmishes along the way.
So it's a plot device.
Yeah, it's a plot device.
It's just a plot device.
Yeah.
In context of the story, it makes no sense.
Oh, no, because Blackheart needs nobody. He never consorts with anyone.
Just wanted to clarify that.
So he hooks back up with Roxanne, who is now a television reporter, and she's covering his thing. Apparently, she covers lots of things, because when we meet her, she's doing a sports story, but later on she's covering crime.
So he jumps the Apaches, goes on this great highway.
Yeah, he's got to hunt.
Chase
He's got to hunt down Roxanne, let her know his true feelings, and ask her out for dinner, which he does. But guess what? Something gets in the way.
Of course.
And that's the Ghost Rider. Mephisto, whose son is now trying to take over everything, finally makes good on his threat to claim Johnny Blaze's soul and turn him into the Ghost Rider. And now Johnny Blaze has to go after Blackheart. And the deal is, it's a new deal now. He's making him a new deal, which is if he brings back Blackheart or stops Blackheart, then he can be freed of the contract. Why did he make a contract with him to begin with? He should just say, "This is what you're doing, man. Go do it."
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, he's supposed to be basically a devil's tool.
Right.
And
like, why does it? He doesn't need. Why are there renegotiations?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Go do my bidding.
It's a plot hole.
Yeah. One of
a bunch. We won't name them all. So please watch the movie and find them all yourself.
You know, and he turns into a flaming skull.
Transformation scene. Now, I remember seeing it in 2000 in the theaters. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, this looks really cool.
Yeah.
Watching it now, not cool at all. It doesn't look that good.
No.
And you can see some CGI mistakes where they didn't polish it as well. Like a chain, when he wraps the chain around him after he gets hung, the chain kind of passes through his shoulder a little bit. There's things like that. And then you have they're called the Hidden.
Yes, they're the Hidden.
They have the Hidden, and one of them is water, earth, and wind.
Yeah.
But something I don't understand about the Hidden, right? We have one of them use the water powers
Yes.
to hold Ghost Rider, because Ghost Rider is now summoned to challenge him at this point.
Yeah.
Holds him in the water, and then the Earth guy drives a truck into him?
Yeah.
Why doesn't he use his Earth powers? How does he know how to drive a truck? I don't understand these things.
Well, you see, they've been on Earth for some time, so they've had to, get by to drive trucks. They need jobs.
But
the water guy works at SeaWorld.
I don't understand.
No, I don't.
The water guy works at SeaWorld? Wait. I want to see that movie.
I know, I do too.
Oh my god.
When the sun goes down and he's in proximity to evil, he turns into the Ghost Rider with a flaming skull, and his bike will transform. At first, only the wheels, but by the end of the movie, we get the full-on hell bike.
Okay, so something about the Ghost Rider that bugs me. The sound of his voice is god-awful.
It's really bad, and I actually did a little research on it because I couldn't imagine the performance was that bad for Nicolas Cage. It's not Nicolas Cage's voice.
Oh, thank God.
It's the sound designer of the movie, recorded all of the dialogue, and then fed it through a bunch of different animal sounds and then fire sounds in order to get it. And what he managed to do was make the Ghost Rider completely incomprehensible from beginning to end. I have no idea what he said once in the entire movie,
except for the whistle that he can do without lips.
Yeah, I think he says "back to hell" at one point, and that was about all I got.
Rebel Wilson pops up right after he transforms, and she's getting mugged by some sort of a mugger.
Yeah, mugger.
A mugger. And Ghost Rider hears her screams and comes in, swoops in, and saves the day by staring down the man with his Penance Stare.
Yes.
And this brings up a thing of the movie that is not bad, but it just creeps me out.
Yeah.
Is the after effects of the Penance Stare.
Mm-hmm.
Really bugs me.
Oh, it was great.
It's the burned over eye.
Yes.
And then they blink. Oh my god, it's so creepy.
Oh, so there are parts of this movie you do like.
No, it's not. I don't like that.
But it was effective. It was supposed to creep you out, and it did.
Again, there's parts of this movie, like I've said, that look cool, and albeit that scene is well done in CGI. Ghost Rider's tiny hands. I mean, he's straight up Donald Trump hands, guys. Like, this is freaking weird.
Yeah.
Like tiny.
What's weird is I think everything is anatomically correct. Like, I think those are the real size of his hands. I think the skull is the real size of his skull. It just doesn't look right because we're not used to seeing a skeleton walking around. So they needed to animate it a little bit more exaggerated, make it a little bit more comic booky, and then I think we would have been happy with it.
Would have bought into it because it's not what it is. Ghost Rider is not just a skeleton walking around on fire. He's the embodiment of vengeance. So you can play around with the skeleton being, it's
exaggerated and weird. There's a demon in that guy.
It's the more of the way the demon looks, not necessarily. Anyway, let's continue on. Let's wrap up this movie, shall we?
Yeah.
Because basically that's all that happens in the second act of the film.
He keeps hunting them down and finding them.
The caretaker of Sam Elliott.
Oh yeah, we do need to mention that though, because
Sam Venganza.
Yeah, but it isn't Sam Venganza, right? It's it is. It is. The cemetery is now Sam Venganza. Okay, so the caretaker, who is Carter Slade, who is a former Ghost Rider himself, the Ghost Rider from the beginning of the movie who refused to give the devil his contract of souls, played by Sam Elliott. So now he tends a cemetery and dispenses advice to the new Ghost Rider. He's great. Sam Elliott is.
Sam Elliott is great, and I really do enjoy him as an actor in most things. The thing that bothers me, though, is apparently anytime you make a deal with the devil, you become a Ghost Rider.
Yes.
And in the context of this film, and only this film,
yeah,
you make a deal with the devil, you're a Ghost Rider.
Right.
Awesome. That's why we have so many Ghost Riders, right?
I'll make a deal with the devil right now if I can be the Ghost Rider.
I'm quite tempted myself. I'd probably want to drive a Dodge Charger instead, but hey. Alright, so at this point in time, he meets up with Carter Slade.
Yeah, when the narration started at the beginning, I thought, man, Sam Elliott's voice is so good. I wish he was saying something interesting.
Right. So, somehow Roxy gets captured, right? She gets captured by the wind spirit?
Yeah,
the water spirit captures her.
They can't defeat Ghost Rider.
Right.
The Hidden can't defeat Ghost Rider, and he's the only thing that they actually fear. Let me go back a second here because I just want to mention the Penance Stare. For those of you who don't know, now the Ghost Rider, when he comes in contact with evil, what he can do is stare into someone's eyes, make them relive the terrible things that they've done, but from the victim's point of view, and it usually drives you insane. That's all. Anyway, back to...
Yeah, sorry I dropped that without explaining.
No, because and the thing is, like, it's a great power for a sort of demonic character to have. Like, I think it's really innovative, but I think that they completely dropped the ball in the way that they...
Oh, they don't explain
show
They
it.
don't really explain it at all in the movie at all.
No, and then...
Much. They, like, oh, you see all the pain you created by... in your whole life, and that's how they explain it.
Right, but then we get a swirling vortex of fire and so like random images that mean nothing to us because we've never seen any of them before.
Yeah.
It's mishandled. But it is a good power. The reason I bring it up is it plays heavily into the climax of the movie. One of the things, the Penance Stare works on humans, but it doesn't work on demons because demons don't have souls. You know, he tries it on Blackheart and it doesn't sort of pay off, and then it eventually pays off at the end, which I didn't hate. I actually liked it.
So Roxanne gets captured.
Yep.
Because
they need leverage against the Ghost Rider.
She gets captured. They go to San Venganza, right? Mm-hmm. I'm saying that correct, right?
Yes, you are.
Venganza. They go to San Venganza, and then in the process of going there, the best scene in the movie, in my opinion, is the Carter Slade comes up and is like, hey, I'm there for one last ride.
Yeah, the original Ghost Rider on horseback shows up, and they ride out together.
His skull bothered me too, though.
Yeah, because
especially
all the skulls.
Yeah, it was weird in the hat, but the horse looked great.
Yeah.
Again, what?
Bike looked great, horse looked great.
Yeah.
Why can't they do the people?
I don't know. So he gets there, and then somehow the water spirit creates a swamp in the desert.
Yes.
Because he's the water spirit.
Yes.
Water spirits can do those things.
Absolutely.
And then he tricks him by playing dead, and he burns the water spirit, and then the water spirit's defeated. All these creatures and stuff are defeated rather easily, which, in the context of the character, it makes sense, but I don't think you ever get the full effect of what Ghost Rider's powers are.
No.
Oh, and then before Carter Slade goes away, he gives him the shotgun.
Yes.
I forgot about
the Hellfire shotgun.
The Hellfire shotgun. Well, a shotgun, and
then
turns into the Hellfire shotgun.
Of course.
Because
anything Ghost Rider touches mechanically can be imbued, or not even mechanically, because he uses a chain, for God's sake, but can be imbued with the power of hell, the Hellfire, so he can turn a chain into a magical whip, and
Why doesn't he have a machine gun?
He didn't have any access to machine guns, I guess.
He's Ghost Rider. He can do whatever the hell he wants.
He could, if there had been a scene where he rode onto a military base, we would have gotten a whole other movie.
I mean, give me a damn Ghost Rider tank. Like, come on.
Yeah.
He goes down there and he confronts Blackheart by giving... Now, Blackheart gets the scripture or whatever that he needs.
The contract, yeah.
The contract. And then he absorbs the souls,
yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And then by absorbing the souls, what did Father Malone just bring up? Oh, that's right.
The Penance Stare.
The Penance Stare affects
Look out, everybody.
souls. And now he's got 1,000 in him. And he's Legion?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's ever since the movie Exorcist III Legion came out, where it was in the trailer, where the character says, he says, who are you? And he says, we are Legion, because we are many. Like that, anytime any filmmaker gets to do anything with the devil, now they throw that line in there. Because it's a great line. It's literally from the Bible. But it makes no sense because he's not all of them. Yeah. He's using them. Like, don't use that line here. It makes no sense at all.
In the context of what I believe the story was, is that he wants these souls to empower himself, not become all these souls.
Right.
Which is what he ends up doing. And then, of course, the Penance Stare works on him now because
he's full of souls.
He's full of souls. Now, something that bothers me again is, like, he does the Penance Stare, and you see all the things that I guess Blackheart has done, right?
Yeah.
But not all the things the souls
have done. And they're supposed to be the souls of thousands of murderers.
And why is he damning all these souls to hell?
Because they're bad people now.
Are they bad people?
Oh, yeah.
I thought they were villagers of this one town.
I know that. No. I read the script. I actually went and read the script. In the first draft, it was the souls of thousands of murderers and bad people.
So it's supposed to be like a prison colony or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't. The thing is, the San Venganza thing was just the place where it happened in the original script. So the Ghost Rider was delivering him the souls of all the bad people, and then thought the devil was going to use it for even worse things, so then he didn't give it to him. And in this, I don't know why the change occurred, but now it was the souls of all of these people who were slain by Mephisto and or Blackheart and or any other demons.
It's where, like, all the souls that I guess the devil obtains or something like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense in the context of the film at all. But anyways, he is now allowed to use the Penance Stare.
Yes.
And then he uses the Penance Stare on him, and then he uses the Hellfire shotgun as well.
Yep.
And there's actually a pretty okay scene where half of his body like turns into Ghost Rider and half of his body stays in a cage and he uses the shotgun. I thought that was actually pretty cool.
It was neat.
Yeah, it was pretty cool because he used the darkness. And because, Ghost Rider is affected by sunlight, so he can't turn into Ghost Rider in the daytime.
Which is, by the way, mental.
Oh, it's just weird because in the comic books, he totally turns Ghost Rider all the time.
If he's walking down the street and some horrible person is next to him, he's going to turn into Ghost Rider. That's the end. Like, it doesn't matter the time of day. So then, Mephisto shows up and he's like, you can not be Ghost Rider anymore. And he's
does
like,
he do that point again?
He does his Elvis pointing thing.
The 2-finger point?
Yeah. And so Johnny Blaze decides he's going to continue to be Ghost Rider, but now he's going to use the power of the devil against the devil. Now, don't you think that the devil could just say, no, I'm taking back my power. All right, let's get into the history of Ghost Rider.
Yes, let's get into the history.
Okay, 1967, Marvel. Ghost Rider appeared. That was a character named Carter Slade. It was part of a Western comic. However, the actual Ghost Rider appeared in 1949, part of AC Comics. That was a character drawn by a guy named Dick Ayers way back in the day. And his deal was, this is when horror comics were sort of all the rage. EC Comics with Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror and all that kind of stuff. The Ghost Rider appeared in a bunch of different sort of anthology horror comics. And it was a guy who was like, his name was Rex Fury.
Nice.
Yeah. He was a marshal who would, at night, cover himself in a phosphorescent material and his horse in a phosphorescent material. So he would appear as if he were a ghost. And then he would hunt down people who were evildoers.
Right, and most people would know this look as like the Phantom Rider, but back in that time period, they called him the Ghost Rider.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happened is the Comics Code came into effect in the mid-50s, and all the horror comics got shunted to one side, including Ghost Rider. He became public domain. So in 1967, Marvel revived the character without having to pay anybody, and hired Dick Ayers, the original artist, to recreate the character.
Interesting.
For Marvel.
Right.
And this was Carter Slade, and it's the exact same story. There's no supernatural element to it at all. Initially, it was the same thing. Character puts on phosphorescent paint on him and his horse and hunts down evildoers. After a few years, he actually started running up against vampires and werewolves and supernatural characters.
Right. So let me interject for a second, actually. So I was reading some back history of Ghost Rider, and I found something very interesting. So the creators of Johnny Blaze, which were Roy Thomas, Gary Frederick, and Mike Plug.
Mike Plug.
All of them were together trying to create a new character, and they're all working actually on a Daredevil comic.
Yeah.
And what happened was that they working on a character kind of similar to the Stuntsman that ends up just popping up, which was a Evel Knievel like villain. And it was supposed to be a main villain to a character, and one of the creators decided, what if we added a flaming skull to him? What if we added a motorcycle to him? What if we changed all these things about that? And in that group of guys, they decided, this is way too cool to be a villain for Daredevil. Let's make him something else entirely.
There you go.
And they brought him into what we know as Ghost Rider.
As Ghost Rider, right.
Johnny Blaze.
So at that point, the actual Ghost Rider comic, the Carter Slade Western comic, was still going on. So then they...
Really?
So they changed his title, and they called him the Knight Rider.
Ooh. That's wearing all white?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. It was a KKK thing. It's not a good idea.
No, that was a horrible
particularly
idea.
because that was the time of the rise of the KKK. Because he takes place in like 1880.
Yeah.
Not cool.
No.
So then, after a couple of issues of the Knight Rider, then they made him the Phantom Rider. And that's who, Carter Slade ended up being sort of for all time. At which point, of course, Johnny Blaze took over.
Yeah.
The actual Johnny Blaze, the character that we know now. Like the movie that we just talked about, like the synopsis, it's basically the same. Like his origin story is the same. Where his father gets cancer. However, instead of Mephisto... in the movie, it's Mephistopheles. It's not even Mephisto. In the comic book, it's a character named Mephisto.
Yeah.
Who is sort of a stand-in for the devil. He's not actually the devil. He's just a higher demon within that realm. Johnny Blaze, in an effort to cure his father's cancer, actually starts reading all of these occult texts, and he summons the demon. He actually initiates the deal.
Yes.
And it's the same outcome, where the father ends up dying the sort of next day in a stunt-related accident.
Yeah.
And now Johnny Blaze is saddled with this demon who resides within him named Zarathos. Mm-hmm. Anytime he's in the presence of evil, Zarathos comes forth and turns him into the Ghost Rider, and he takes care of them for Mephisto. What I liked about the comic in the 70s and the sort of early 80s, I think, was that it was kind of like a werewolf story.
Yeah.
Where he would turn into Ghost Rider and then like wake up the next day and go, hey, what happened?
Yeah.
Johnny Blaze was never in control of himself once Zarathos took over and became Ghost Rider. So that was basically the whole run of the comic.
Right.
He hunts down evildoers and whatever. And then they retired him around 83.
So one thing actually that we forgot to mention, though, with Johnny Blaze is his back history with Roxanne, where in the comics, they called her Rocky a lot instead of Roxy, which would make more sense for a Roxanne nickname. Okay, whatever. One of the things that I would notice what they didn't do in the comic book, in the movie that they did in the comic book, is they actually gave Roxanne parents.
Yeah.
In fact, both parents actually kind of fostered Johnny Blaze, and okay.
Oh, no, I gotta stop.
Oh,
now I'm gonna stop you because...
You got retcon?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so I did not know this. I'm reading the retcon.
Yeah, you're doing the retcon right now.
All right, cool.
So, yeah, the story played out, like, as I said, where it was Johnny Blaze's father who dies. What was it, around, like, 89, 90, I guess? They brought in a new Ghost Rider, this guy named Danny Ketch.
Yeah.
Danny Ketch was extremely popular as the character. And what happened is now they sort of retconned all of Johnny Blaze's old stuff. So this Danny Ketch character is actually Johnny Blaze's younger brother. And now they created an entire new backstory where there's been a Ghost Rider for eternity. There's always been one.
Yeah, eons.
In Johnny Blaze's bloodline, the firstborn of every generation will become the Ghost Rider. Because back in the day, and I think this was in like the 1800s, the spirits of vengeance in hell were fighting against the demon Zarathos.
Yes, that's right. This is what I remember. Okay, cool.
Okay. So Zarathos is trying to take over. And the only way... They're all vying for this MacGuffin, this thing, this medallion of power.
Yes, I believe it's literally called Medallion of Power.
It is the medallion of power. It's so stupid.
It's a really dumb name.
Yeah, so Zarathos, the only way that there's an entire other group called the Blood, right? Now, the Blood are trying to keep the spirits of vengeance at bay. And what they do is they take this medallion of power and they split it into two pieces.
Yeah, and it gives us the two families, right?
To two different families. So one of the bloodlines is Johnny Blaze's family's bloodline.
Yeah, his mother's side, I believe, right?
Right.
Yeah. Kale or something like that.
Yeah, Noble Kale.
Noble Kale.
Noble Kale was the Ghost Rider.
Not the food, but
right.
Yeah.
Although it would be more delicious if it was actual kale, which says a lot.
Yeah.
Johnny's mother. I know this is
easy for you to say.
Dude, it's so convoluted.
It is really convoluted because it's all retcon and all this rewrite.
Yeah,
and
man.
like that.
I mean, I was so happy with the original Johnny Blaze plotline, but now when you got Danny Ketch involved, the character, you find out that Johnny Blaze's mother, in order to avoid her family suffering the curse, leaves Barton Blaze, Johnny Blaze's father, and takes her two youngest children with her. She actually ends up like sort of fostering them with the Ketch family.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what happens is, which makes no sense at all, because...
Zero.
Yeah, because Johnny Blaze is the firstborn, so he's the one who's going to suffer the curse, and she already had him, so it doesn't... What? Anyway.
Well, I think it was to avoid the... from what I understand of the reading of it, it seems like more of it she was trying to protect her other kids.
Yeah.
But what I don't understand is why... I guess it was because the father wouldn't abandon their firstborn and she was willing to, because it was her family's fault.
Right.
Or something like that. She didn't want to...
Nevertheless, the firstborn is still going to turn into Ghost Rider.
The firstborn is still screwed at some point,
yeah. It's like, well, there's going to be a problem here, so peace out. Like, wait.
What a bad mom.
Yeah, that's a terrible
bad
mom, man.
move.
She's horrible.
Bad mom move.
So Johnny Blaze he's being raised by his father, but his father dies.
Yeah, like cancer still, yeah.
Yeah, he gets sort of shuffled over to the Simpson family, Crash Simpson.
Crash Simpson with Roxanne as his sort of like sister-ish
yeah, kind of like a Flash situation.
Yeah,
there.
like exactly like Flash and Iris from the TV show. Exactly like it.
Yeah,
I see where they got that storyline from.
Totally, man. So, Johnny Blaze ends up like being mentored by his new quasi-father, Crash Simpson. Now, whereas with Johnny Blaze, when Zarathos would take over, effectively all that would happen is he'd get a flaming head. And, you know what I mean? He would have a flaming skull, and he could do sort of cool things. And he had the Hellfire ability a little bit, but they hadn't really worked it out.
They kind of made it seem like he was more invulnerable.
Yeah, that was the deal.
Yeah.
So when they came up with Danny Ketch, suddenly they came up with a whole new set of powers, including the Hellfire.
Yes.
Including the fact that not only would his skull turn flaming, but like his outfit would change.
Yeah,
Like,
and the motorcycle.
so that suddenly you're
yeah.
getting spikes on the outfit.
Yeah.
And the motorcycle would change, yeah. The Penance Stare. That came from Danny Ketch.
Yeah, the 90s, man, like...
I know, we were so depressed.
No, it seemed like the time where a lot of these characters, like, Daredevil went into his darker age.
Yeah.
In the late 80s, early 90s, where he went into the Frank Miller realm. I think with the Frank Miller revolution in the comic books, you have more characters trying to be dark, or at least portray their way of being dark, and what was cool and hip at the time. And like swinging around chains, wearing spikes and stuff like that, like a biker of the 90s, was cool in the thing, like make you look tough. So they wanted the character to look really tough. So that's why Danny Ketch had all these attributes of all these things, and then they had tied it into the character. So it was really like a social commentary of the time, is why this man has these powers that he does. It's very interesting, and a lot of people don't really see that in the comic book, saying it's like, oh, it's just some sort of kiddie thing. But no, literally, these writers took from the time, and the reason why we have the superpowers we do for Ghost Rider is because the 90s were so ridiculous.
Yeah, in this climate, suddenly they bring back Johnny Blaze in the middle of the Danny Ketch thing. And now we have him being the older brother. Now it's no longer Zarathos takes him over. He's sort of made peace with that in some way. Like, he's able to suppress Zarathos, so he's able to now effectively use all of Danny Ketch's innovations.
Yeah.
Like, now the outfit changes. Now he can use the Penance Stare. Now Hellfire is one of his things. And that run led till, I don't know, like 2014 is what we're talking about, because that's when Robbie Reyes shows up.
Well,
2012, 2014.
Yes and no. It got taken over by other writers and stuff like that along the way. And what kind of happened is it wasn't until Jason Aaron really took over where the characters had a lot of depth and a lot of fun, where you end up finding out that Zarathos is actually an angel. That was so he's a heavenly power as opposed to a hellish power, a demon power. And it's actually the power of vengeance is actually a good thing. Very, very twisted. But Jason Aaron's
I hate retcon, man.
Jason Aaron's a fantastic writer.
Yeah,
so it was really well done. And
go write your own character. Leave my characters alone.
Get off my lawn.
I know, dude. Believe me. I've gotten to a point in my life where I'm totally satisfied with my own sort of old man, like, leave those things alone. But
what spawned from Jason Aaron, though, was some really interesting takes on the character, and kind of like brought it into this kind of like preacher feel. And of course, Garth
that's
had his
a
run
great
and stuff
analogy.
like that.
Actually,
like, it brought into these like darker turns for a Marvel character but it wasn't like it was in the 90s. It was taken seriously. And it was a mature content thing that was aimed towards the mature reader, as opposed to just adding chains and whips and whatever like that to make it seem darker. In fact, I believe in Jason Aaron's run, the new one of Johnny Blaze's and Ghost Rider's villains is the character named Vengeance.
Yeah.
It's a character that basically has all the powers of Ghost Rider. It's just like a mirror image of him, essentially.
Yeah.
A new Vengeance is born because of a cop who runs into a cannibal that Johnny Blaze stops, ends up eating the cop's hand, and he's so mad because Johnny Blaze didn't save his hand, he becomes Vengeance, the bad character. Okay, maybe that's not the best writing example, but like as far as the character, and to show you an example of how it's taken like crazy in a realistic thing in a gory way, all this is actually shown on the on page. It's really crazy. It's very preacher. It's very dark of the time.
Oh, man.
Was that ridiculous or what?
Oh, it's so ridiculous. Okay.
But, this, to be fair, though, I will say Jason Aaron has definitely evolved as a writer.
Not making fun
of him. No, what I'm
making
saying is he's evolved as a writer when it comes to, he did this, and then he stepped into other things and got progressively better. He's probably one of the better comic book writers today, whereas in his first start, like in this was, I think, 2007, around when the movie came out. It was very comic booky still, and now he's taken it more realistic. He's done the new Thor, he's done Doctor Strange, he's done things like that, where it's more fun and it's more of a...
Please.
In the realm of
Please be more fun.
Good writing. It's the realm of good writing, finally.
Oh, my God.
But to get into the next step after Danny Ketch, is there
Robbie
anything
Reyes.
else you want to talk about Danny Ketch?
Nah, Danny Ketch is...
generic 90s action hero. Robbie Reyes is a refresh to the character.
Yeah.
And he was created by Felipe Smith and Trad Moore. Now, this is my favorite Ghost Rider, actually, I would say. I'm not really super into the fact that he's a teenager, but I like the context that he has an actual reason to be a Ghost Rider as opposed to just making a deal with the devil. Like, the reason why well, let me just get into it.
What?
What are you talking about?
What?
He has a reason why he's a Ghost Rider.
He has a reason. He gets taken over by his uncle, man.
This is why.
Okay.
Hold on, let me get into it. Basically,
Go
what
ahead,
happens?
I apologize.
The reason why he has a reason to become Ghost Rider, and to actually he has actual motivation to be Ghost Rider, as opposed to just the motivation of dealing with the demon. He has to deal with his brother. He has Robbie Reyes is a caretaker for his younger brother, and the reason why he's even Ghost Rider in the first place is because he's trying to do something to help his younger brother. He is working at a mechanic shop. He notices this really awesome looking Dodge Charger, and he basically takes the car to go into a street race to win $50,000 to help his brother get a better life, to help him get a new wheelchair, and everything like that.
Okay.
What happens is that this car has a unknown cargo in it that Robbie Reyes doesn't even know. And as the street race is happening, the scene, as it famously in Fast and the Furious and all that, gets invaded by cops. Of course, because as soon as your hero's winning the race, cops got to show up, right?
Naturally. That's always been my experience.
So the cops show up and really chase him down, and finally he pulls over.
What a fool.
He pulls over into an alley, and then they shoot him. They set the car on fire. But, of course, because it's a comic book, the car has another passenger inside of it.
Yeehaw.
The car was haunted!
Yes.
Ridiculous, but still...
Oh, no, not ridiculous.
No, it's
this
still
is what
fun.
happens every day.
Haunted cars every day.
I have a Kia Soul that has the ghost of an old woman from Waukegan.
Waukegan, huh?
Waukegan, Illinois. She's very nice.
Well, if you somehow die in a fire wreck and you become a Ghost Rider, there you
she
go.
will take me over, and I will do a lot of bingo from now on.
Ghost Rider bingo. Anyway, the haunted demon, the haunted spirit ends up taking over Robbie Reyes and becomes an all-new Ghost Rider.
But who's that spirit?
That spirit, as you find out later as the story progresses, ends up becoming his uncle.
Yeah.
So I like the angle of Robbie doing it for his brother. Like, he doesn't necessarily care about himself, but he realizes somebody is dependent on him.
Yeah, but Johnny Blaze did it for his dad.
All right, Johnny Blaze made the deal with the devil for his dad, but constantly fighting the demon. Once his dad was dead, he had nothing to fight for, if that's the angle you're looking for. He had Roxanne, but then Roxanne was killed, and then why doesn't he submit?
Okay, but...
And then his kids were killed.
No. His motivation initially was good, which is what makes him a good Ghost Rider. My question is, why don't the Spirits of Vengeance find somebody who's really bad and will do their will? Because they always end up picking somebody who will fight them on every plane. They're looking for somebody who's just going to do the job.
Again, this is where I like Robbie Reyes better, is that the reason
better
why...
than Johnny Blaze?
Yes, actually.
Get out of here.
I'm not. The reason why I like Robbie better is because the Eli Morrow character is his uncle.
Yeah.
So the reason why he can actually take over his own bloodline is because it's his bloodline.
Right.
The spirit of his uncle can take him over because they're related.
Hey, what did his uncle do for a living?
He was a serial killer.
Oh, he was a serial killer.
He was a horrible person. So, in also another thing too is Robbie actually has to fight with the serial killer inside himself.
Yes.
Which is very...
That's super dramatically good. I enjoy that.
It's dramatically good. And I feel Robbie Reyes, don't get me wrong, if you do it right, Johnny Blaze, Danny Ketch, okay, let's face it, Johnny Blaze would be a really good movie, better than the one that we've watched, for sure.
Yeah.
It would be something that you could do a good origin story. If they said it in the 70s and 80s where Daredevils made sense still. Mm-hmm. But Robbie Reyes, in my opinion, is definitely the best one to adapt. And
well, I mean, he's the best one for right now.
Yeah, I mean
he's of the time period. So I've got nothing but love for Robbie Reyes. I think he's a good character. If there's a bad Ghost Rider character, it's Danny Ketch. Who cares? Like, other than his innovations, I don't give a shit about that character.
Did you see that they actually had, and it's kind of like a little sidebar here, they have a female Ghost Rider?
Yeah.
Alejandra something?
Yeah.
I can't remember her name exactly. Basically, it's a character that took over the power of Johnny Blaze, fought with Johnny Blaze for a while, became Ghost Rider, and then retained it once Johnny Blaze got it all back.
Which doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all. That's why she doesn't really pop up as much.
Yeah, no. I mean, look, there's only one Ghost Rider, and that's Carter Slade, Johnny Blaze, Danny Ketch, and Robbie Reyes.
Yeah.
having a Hispanic Ghost Rider is not the worst thing they could have done.
I think it's fantastic, and I'm really happy about they didn't change Johnny Blaze into a Hispanic man. They made a new character, and he is just as good as Johnny Blaze when it comes to his power set.
Absolutely.
Like in fact, I think he has a different power set a little bit. He actually can, I believe one point in time, he actually can teleport and stuff. I've never seen Johnny Blaze able to do that.
Oh, no, he can't.
I think he uses, like...
He drives.
He drives everywhere.
He's a rider, man.
He's a rider.
So what do you think they should call Robbie Reyes Ghost Driver?
No, I think Ghost Rider.
I mean, would that satisfy the critics?
He is riding in the car, technically.
He's driving, though.
Is he driving, or is it the spirit driving him?
No, he...
Oh, there you go. All right. But to get back into the movie,
let's talk about the movie.
Let's talk about the movie, okay?
Okay.
What did you really like about this movie?
I like the Marvel logo at the beginning. It was really good. Remember with the flipping pages?
Yeah, that was the first movie that did that?
Yeah, I think so. And you got, like, brief glimpses of the character you're about to see. The new one, where it's just shots from movies, I don't care for it. They had so much history drawn, and it was cool because when you would go see a Marvel film, you would get sort of random characters, but then you would get a brief glimpse or two of the character you were about to see.
Yeah.
And that always excited me.
Oh, yeah, it's like panels you could have read it. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
No, I understand. Like when the first Captain America movie still had it.
Yeah, man.
They showed panels of Captain
Absolutely.
America.
We're like, oh my god, we're going to watch Captain America movie. This is so exciting.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, hey, look how awesome we are. We've made a bunch of movies.
I agree with you when I would actually like it back to where it was, the comic book flips. But at the same time, I understand why they made the move, because they want to say, hey, this is our continuity.
Right.
This is not the comic book. This is not anything else.
They should bring back the sound of the pages flipping, though.
I agree.
Right?
That'd be cool.
It was something really neat. Like, it's a sound we all grew up hearing because we were doing it.
What if they took those images and put them in, like, comic book print form and then flip it like that, but it's the same images?
Yes.
Solved it.
Call us Marvel. Another thing I liked in the movie, I thought Eva Mendes was really good as Roxanne.
Eva Mendes is so gorgeous in this movie. In this movie in particular, she's like up the eye candy level. Like she's a very attractive woman.
Yes.
But for some reason in this movie it's like extra.
I don't want to just relegate her to the pretty girl because she's look. There's a scene where Johnny has stood her up where they were supposed to go to dinner together, and she's waiting for him, and she's getting more and more drunk while waiting for him because he's gone off and become Ghost Rider. She's great in that scene.
There's parts of this movie like that are really humorous and fun. Mm-hmm. But then you're talking about a character that's a demon.
Well, we'll get to the demon. We're talking about Eva Mendes right now, who is consistent throughout. I think she's really good. And when we're not discussing Johnny Blaze as a demon, but just Johnny Blaze as a character, the interaction between the two of them, and this includes Nicolas Cage now, their chemistry is really good. Every time they share a scene together, I really enjoy it. I could see a movie with those two actors being really enjoyable.
She was in the Bad Lieutenant movie with him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they carried on the chemistry from this movie. Right?
Yeah. I mean, they're good. She's great in this movie.
Yeah.
I think she's super underrated. She sometimes gets lumped into just the pretty girl thing, but I think she's really good. And now she's married to Ryan Gosling, right? And having kids together, so she should have dropped out of the scene, which is a shame because she's really good.
Yeah, she's really good. I think I heard she was going to be in something. I can't remember right now.
Well, it needs to happen quicker.
Yeah, she's actually, like you said, one of those people that gets stuck in that pretty girl role, but she can actually act and things like that. But the girl they got for young Roxy was such a dead-on casting.
Jesus, it's insane. They cloned her.
Yeah, it was crazy. Same look, same appeal. It was very it was like a little sister or something. It had to be. And it isn't.
But it isn't.
It's crazy.
They found a girl who looks exactly like Eva Mendes.
What else did you like in this movie? Sam Elliott, right?
Naturally Sam Elliott. But let me sort of piggyback off of Sam Elliott because there's not a whole lot I liked in the script, but I liked the idea, or I liked the fact that Mark Steven Johnson, as terrible as he is, actually went through the history of Ghost Rider and sort of drew on sort of earlier incarnations. Now, here's the funny thing. Okay, so later on, during the Danny Ketch retcon years, that's when we got this group called the Blood Cult, quote unquote. And they have a representative on Earth named the Caretaker. So he's the one who's looking after the shards from the Medallion of Power. Sam Elliott's character in the original script is just the Caretaker. They weren't going to make him Carter Slade.
Right, they were just going to make him a caretaker.
Yeah.
I buy that.
So what ended up happening is, so he's just the caretaker throughout, and then when Johnny needs to find San Venganza, he's like, I've got a friend who can help you, and Carter Slade shows up. And what they ended up doing was combining
the caretaker and Carter Slade characters.
Right, okay.
Which is a good idea. I mean, there are worse things you could do. And you don't want to not Sam Elliott be like this Old West guy.
Yeah, you want to give him every opportunity to
don't just make him the guy with the shovel.
Yeah. Well, he was a pretty good guy with a shovel.
Yeah. There's no better shoveler, except, of course, the shoveler, William H. Macy.
Yeah, Mystery Men,
Yeah, the greatest shoveler of all time.
You are 100% correct there.
At the same time, the fact that he only delivers Johnny Blaze to Sam Venganza and then doesn't engage in a fight with him is bonkers.
Well, it's like he said it himself that he has enough for one last ride. So now he's dead.
Bullshit.
So now he's dead because he rode one last ride.
Yeah, what? How about he dies in battle? You know?
Something to help out. Yeah, I know.
Come on, man. Get off the horse and fucking do some shit.
Especially since Ghost Rider was technically outnumbered at that point.
Right?
There was at least one of the cronies around him, and then they had Blackheart himself, and then Blackheart had the scroll, so it was going to be even more powerful.
How about Carter Slade takes out all of the other hidden, quote-unquote, and while Johnny can sort of focus on Blackheart? It would have been great.
Yeah, that would have been great. I struggled to find a lot of things I liked about this movie.
Sure.
Because, I don't have much appeal to this character after really realizing that I had a better impression of this movie before I watched it, and then I watched it again. I'm like, oh, I really don't like this character. Because I like the Robbie Reyes take on the character more, and you guys heard my reasons why. I enjoyed Peter Fonda. I thought he was a fun
good. Yeah, me too.
Mephistopheles, whatever
Mephistopheles.
I'll never say it right.
Yes, you will. We'll do it right now.
Mephistopheles.
Oh my God, Mephistopheles.
Mephistopheles.
Oh, come on.
I did that one on purpose.
Okay.
I don't think it could have cast anyone sort of more spiritually relevant to the Ghost Rider saga than one of the original actors from Easy Rider.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, his character in Easy Rider, Captain America is his name.
Funny.
The bike he drives is Grace, the one that Johnny Blaze ends up driving.
Really?
It's the same chopper. Yeah, and Peter Fonda has always been interesting and always been cool, but having him as the devil, he's not the devil, he's Mephisto. Although they make him Mephistopheles, so they make him the devil because I don't get it, man. Like, we can handle different demons and stuff. Well, I don't know why it always has to be the devil every time they make a movie. Anyway, Peter Fonda's great.
I would say another thing I liked about this movie was definitely Nick Cage. I always like Nick Cage pretty much in everything he does. There's very few performances of Nick Cage where I'm like, man, I don't get this guy at all, because he said it himself. He does crazy on purpose, and I enjoy that of Nick Cage, where it doesn't matter what he is. He's always going to give you some sort of entertainment, even if it takes you somewhat out of the movie sometimes. Let's face it, his performances do take you out of the movie sometimes because they're so ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at what in Con Air, how ridiculous he is. Like, just playing this badass, like, put the bunny back in the box, that stuff. Oh my God. I
do think his performance in Con Air is more in keeping with that movie than his performance here, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, it's funny, when you first introduced Johnny Blaze as an older man, he is eccentric, to say the least.
Very least.
I think they what they didn't do and what they should have done with this movie, and not to get too much into fixing this movie or anything else like that, but Nicolas Cage by himself is a eccentric person. He's a crazy guy. He has the capability of doing crazy things regardless of whatever situation you put him in. You don't need to have him drink coffee out of the pot. You don't need him to drink jelly beans out of a martini glass. You don't need him to do weird things because he himself can act weird and do different things. I will say, though, with all those things, if you had another actor other than Nick Cage, sure, that would work. But with Nick Cage himself, you have a guy who doesn't necessarily need all those things to be a crazy guy, to deal with being part demon, in the context of this story.
Okay, here's the thing. All of the things you just mentioned, Nicolas Cage brought to the movie. None of that is in the script. So, when Johnny Blaze is drinking martini glasses full of jelly beans and watching monkeys on television and listening to Karen Carpenter, all of the stuff that I fucking hated in this movie, Nicolas Cage brought all of that.
Look, I didn't say he made good decisions. I'm saying he's a fun actor to watch.
I totally agree. And so, I know we're talking about things we like, but the number one problem for me in this movie is Nicolas Cage. Like, he is too old, and the director obviously could not rein him in and say no. So he let him indulge in all these eccentricities of like, well, I think he would like listen to Karen Carpenter all the time, and I think he would drink jelly beans out of a glass, like all these stupid things that mean absolutely nothing. And I'm sure
you know what? Nick Cage seems like a super charismatic guy, right? So if you and I were talking to him and he was like, here's why he drinks jelly beans out of a martini glass, he'd be like, yeah, that makes total sense.
Right.
But the director needs to go, no, Johnny Blaze doesn't do that because Johnny Blaze is this guy, not this guy.
You know, I see I get your point, but again, I think it's that realm of 2000 superhero movies where they weren't taken serious, and again, it's something where I don't think Mark Steven Johnson even gave a crap about his character in the movie. Like,
Yes, it's 6 to 1, half dozen to another. I mean, I think Mark Steven Johnson, look, he's not a good filmmaker.
No, he's horrible.
Yeah, so the movie needed a better director/writer, and it needed, if they were going to go with Nicolas Cage, it needed the director who was going to say no to him.
Yeah, I
It's like watching a Tim Burton movie with Johnny Depp. Anything Johnny Depp wants to do, Tim Burton's just going to go, yeah, that's good, go ahead. It's not good. Don't go ahead. Stop doing that immediately.
Yeah. Again, so for me, the reason why I enjoyed Nick Cage's film is because I just enjoy the presence of Nick Cage in anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's more along the lines of that. Not necessarily he did something in particular that was like, oh, this is really cool.
Yeah.
Or he made good decisions. I just enjoy his presence because I always know I'm going to get a laugh out of him because of the things he does and the way he behaves. Like, the faces he makes sometimes just crack me up.
Well, no, I totally agree with that. His interactions with Eva Mendes are great. When he's playing Johnny Blaze, like, I'm 100% with it. It's these moments sort of before and after where they allow him to sort of improvise or, like, you know, like give his spin to the character. Yeah. As much as I love him, I don't want him being a creator. You know what I mean? Like, perform the part as written, and then I'm with you. But, like, don't bring in other stuff just because you happen to be thinking about it that week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you make a good point. What else did you like about this film? Because I'm running out of things.
I know you share a different opinion, but I think Wes Bentley as Blackheart is actually really good.
I hate Wes Bentley in this movie.
Wes Bentley is one of those guys. He's always sort of under the radar, but he's always got a weird intensity to him. And I think coupled with a very palpable sort of petulance that I think the son of the devil would have. He seems really entitled. And that doesn't make me, like, love him as a character, but at the same time, it is 100% what that character needed. And whether or not he was like flying high on cocaine while they were making the movie, which is allegedly what we hear happened, I think he did a really good job. Despite Wes Bentley, let me just talk about the character for a second, because one of the things that I did like about this movie that I didn't like about Constantine, in that movie, the main villain of the movie was Mammon, the son of the devil.
Yeah, which was never seen, right?
We never saw him one time. In this movie, they corrected that, where now we're dealing with only that character from beginning to end, and dealing with his plans head on. So that's something I liked.
Just to quickly comment on Wes Bentley, like, I think he's a fine actor.
Uh-huh.
I think he Seneca Crane in Hunger Games. He was in the first Hunger Games. I actually really enjoyed that performance. He was in the Game Master.
Don't remember him, but
I
don't remember that movie.
No, that's because he had this really weird facial hair and all these things like that. Like,
oh, now I do remember him.
Yeah, that guy, exactly. He was a really interesting character
he
in the film, and actually he was probably he had an actually interesting story arc when it came to that movie, and then of course that movie is what it became, a huge phenomenon. He was part of it mostly because of Jennifer Lawrence's character and all that. I digress.
Yeah.
What I did not like about his character in this film was I don't understand the cronies. I don't understand some of the choices they made for Blackheart as a character. Yes, he's...
Like what?
He's similar. Well, he just seemed very boring and not really menacing. Yes, in the very beginning he does wipe out a whole bar.
Yeah.
So why? There was no point to do that.
Because he enjoys it.
Does it really matter? Because my thinking is, if you're the son of the devil, you should be rather clever.
Yes.
And you should be, like, smart enough to know, like, oh, this doesn't matter. I can sit there and wipe them all out if I accomplish my goal. Okay, so he's the son of the devil and he doesn't understand how Ghost Rider's powers work?
Which part of the powers does he understand?
He apparently doesn't understand the Penance Stare at all.
No, he does understand the Penance Stare because he is able to thwart it and laugh about it.
But then he takes in human souls and screws himself.
I know, but nobody could have predicted that.
He could have.
No, he couldn't have. He thought he was going to become so powerful at that moment that nothing could stop him. And the Ghost Rider's Penance Stare hadn't worked previously. It's just a fluke that works. I gotta say, okay, doubling back just 2 seconds. The Penance Stare as the payoff for the movie, I liked a lot.
Yeah, I dug
because
that.
we talked about Doctor Strange. We haven't talked on the podcast. We talked amongst ourselves because we're friends.
Yeah.
But,
are we?
Yeah. No, we are.
I hate you.
Oh no. Anyway. I liked in Doctor Strange the sort of the bargain at the end because it's been said before, and it really bothers me now. Like, as clever as a movie can be, an action film, as thoughtful as the characterizations are, as interesting or innovative as the plot can be, it always comes down to two people punching each other at the end.
Essentially,
nothing could be more boring than two idiots punching each other after you've had an interesting experience up until then. So when Doctor Strange ended. When Doctor Strange ended, where it was like this sort of more cerebral thing, I was like, that's awesome. And I felt the same way at the end of this movie, where it's like there is a bit of a battle going on, but Ghost Rider ends up sort of out-clevering. Clevering? Is that a word? No, it's not. He sort of uses the villain's new powers against him and turns it into an advantage. That's something I really liked about the movie.
I agree. Actually, I will say, in accordance of saying its originality, I agree. It has an original ending.
There's not a ton of originality in this movie, but that ending I thought was worth it.
It was a solid ending for a Mark Steven Johnson film.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's not gonna look. I don't know how Grumpy Old Men ended. Did it?
They were still grumpy.
Oh.
Because they made a sequel called Grumpy Men 2.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
I don't think he wrote that one.
I don't think he did that one,
He had a producer credit. There wasn't a lot I like about this film. I think there were some cool... I thought the fight scenes weren't bad. I thought how Ghost Rider would take down the Hidden. That was fun.
Yeah.
Especially in the first one where he just... It's a cocky moment where the guy's like, oh, I can take him. No, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't take me. And then even in the second part where they take him out through making the whirlwind that Flash uses all the time now,
right.
In the TV show.
You know something weird about that scene?
What?
This actually ties into something I liked. I liked Ghost Rider driving up the side of the building.
Oh yeah, I thought that was cool.
It was beautiful and fantastic, and that there needed more of that weirdness in the movie. So he drives to the top of the building. He's chasing this Wind character whose name escapes me because it's so unmemorable.
Oh, it's tremendously unmemorable. I call him the Cronies for a reason.
Yeah. So a police helicopter shows up, and Ghost Rider uses his chain to grab hold of the skid on the bottom of the helicopter and pulls him closer and basically tells him, like, leave me alone, like, you're bothering me. And then, like, he throws the helicopter and it rights itself and just flies away, like, well, we don't want to deal with that anymore. It's terrible, first of all.
Terrible.
Yeah, okay, it's terrible. Secondly, Mark Steven Johnson put up his own money to film that scene.
Why?
Because the studio didn't want to do that.
Good idea.
I know, the studio was right.
Is there anything else you have good? Because like I said,
yes,
I'm done.
I have more. They do these close-ups of the villains where they get these flashes of the sort of demonic thing beneath their skin.
Oh, yeah.
It looks great. I know a lot of the CGI is bad in this film, but anytime this sort of demonic thing underneath, where you get to see like all the teeth, like sort of like rising through their face, I think it looks awesome.
And particularly, I would agree with Blackheart. And I know I'm not the biggest fan of this character, but Blackheart does look cool when you do see him, especially the first time. That is very cool. And I will say, to give another compliment to like how the demons behave and stuff like that, how Blackheart takes down people and just basically just drains them of all their life.
Yeah,
and they just become
looks good.
These like hollow, empty, like black ash cores or whatever.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. I will give it credit to that, but I do not have anything else good to say about this movie.
Right on. Well, that was my last thing.
That was your last. Really? It was your last thing of this movie. All right, I say.
Did I mention the Marvel logo? It was really good.
I say to get into our problems and how we want to fix it. Let's break it down. What really bugged me about the story and plot of this movie, it felt like I've seen it before, except for the details of the ending.
Yeah.
It felt very repeated. I actually wrote something down specifically. In the 2003 Daredevil movie.
Yeah.
Okay. We have an origin story. We have a man discovering his powers.
Yes.
We have a pretty lady.
Yes.
We have a villain rising that has, get this, cronies around him.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'm gonna go with you, but this is every origin story for every superhero. But go ahead.
And then it's been in particular these two characters.
You're being so general.
He took the same beats.
Okay. From his previous movie.
That's what I'm getting at.
You're saying that he remade Daredevil.
He didn't necessarily remake Daredevil. Is that he didn't exactly stray far from what has happened before. That wasn't exactly a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
He decided to take the same things, and that's a problem with Mark Steven Johnson doing this film.
Yeah.
Is he took the same thing that he saw in Daredevil, like, oh, I did this before. Let me do it again in Ghost Rider. He didn't change enough in the story beats, because you can go back and be like, oh yeah, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
First watching this film, I'll admit, I was much younger, and I was just like, oh, cool, Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Flaming Skull guy. Oh, cool. Looking back on it now, like, you can predict where the story is going, but then again, that's of the time of these superhero movies as well. So it's kind of like, I get it, and I don't get it at the same time. He could have done something with Johnny Blaze to make it more fun, more of a complete plot and story, whereas it's not just the same beats.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the details of the third act, and especially the ending of how he, outsmarts him, different. And I'll give him credit. And the same thing with Daredevil, where the Daredevil movie ends with him, not actually beating up the bad guy and is like, hey, I'm not the bad guy here. The police are coming for you.
And then he throws him out of fucking church.
That was Bullseye.
Yeah. Oh, we're talking about Kingpin.
Yeah, I'm talking about Kingpin.
You're absolutely
like the
right.
main villain. He used the fact that he wasn't able to be killed, even in his human form. So why didn't he do even more ridiculous things, or we see him do more ridiculous things in his stunt show?
Yeah.
Because once he turns Ghost Rider, everybody forgets he's a stunt writer.
That's true.
And Donald Logue gets pretty much written out of the story at that point, right?
Yeah, man. What the fuck?
Like, it's things like that I'm like, he could have added so much more to change up the story that wasn't the same beats of like, oh, now he's a superhero, now he does the things, now he's going to save the day.
Yeah.
Like, again, it's of the time, and I get what you're saying, where it's like, oh, well, that's a lot of movies. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really blaming Mark Steven Johnson. I'm more blaming the genre of the time, I guess I would say. So, and do you have any other, what is your problems with the story, Michael?
I think it's a huge failing, regardless of what year this movie came out, that we get our lead character 45 minutes into the movie.
Oh, absolutely.
It makes zero plot sense that this character Mephisto would approach him to make him the Ghost Rider and then have him not do anything for 10, 15 years, I think. And then, like, when Blackheart finally shows up, he's like, okay, now you'll be the Ghost Rider. He should have been Ghost Rider from the get-go. Like, as soon as he made that deal, like, that night he should have turned into Ghost Rider.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. That definitely.
And I think if they had done that, then we would have gotten a lot more of what you're saying, which is him just figuring out what he can and can't do. Because I get that they weren't going to go with the original Ghost Rider where Zarathos takes over. I think that would have been a better idea, where he doesn't remember. But if you're going to make him be the guy who turns into this thing at night, doesn't quite know what he is now, he should have had some time to play around with that. Saying, like, okay, he's made this deal with the devil, and now he goes off and he becomes effectively Evel Knievel, and then years and years after the fact, now he's going to become the Ghost Rider. Like, it's just so weird and it doesn't feel right in any way, shape, or form. That kid should have driven off as a flaming skull, and then we pick it up with Johnny Blaze, who's been Ghost Rider for many, many years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And that kind of retcons in the whole idea that I had, where it's like, oh, he's been Ghost Rider for a long time. That's why he's doing such ridiculous stunts.
Right.
He's using it to his advantage, which, I mean, that's literally a line of dialogue.
Yeah.
That's literally a quick shot of cool CGI on the kid.
Yeah.
One time. So take away one scene of Ghost Rider later in the film and put it on the kid for like 10 seconds, and then you can have this whole backstory. Well, he's been Ghost Rider for like 25 years.
Right.
He's experienced. He doesn't have to have this really crazy like thing. And you can have him just go through his hoard. He's a hoarder, right?
Yeah.
Because he has all this stuff about books and all the things. Like, have like random clippings of like the Ghost Rider did this, or like, and have the name like that.
100%.
Like, also, one thing I don't understand is why did Mephisto call him the Ghost Rider? Like, I get it's the name of the character.
Yeah.
Would the devil really call somebody Ghost Rider?
No, he wouldn't. It's funny because Blackheart refers to him as the Rider.
Yes, which would have been fine.
Yeah.
Which would have been fine if they just called him the Rider. And that has to do with the whole thing with Sam Van Gaza and the contract and all that.
It should have been something sort of labeled him, and the fact that he was constantly being investigated sort of televisually, where they're doing news reports about him and the police are investigating him, like, that's where the name Ghost Rider would have come from.
Yeah,
like some cop going like this Ghost Rider,
or even you can have Eva Mendes actually have some sort of
she should have
plot.
named him. If after he made the deal with the devil, if he had instantly become Ghost Rider, right? So we lose like 10 years where he is Ghost Rider, right? So he's already doing the devil's work. So then when the devil comes to him and it's like, you need to take care of this guy Blackheart, my son, because he's coming to Earth and blah blah blah. It would be a moment where he could say, well, no, that's not our deal. I take care of the evil people on this earth, and I bring them to hell. That's your problem. And then Mephisto could say, I'll make you a new deal. I will release you from your bonds if you take care of this problem for me. Then it would make sense that the devil would try and renegotiate. You know what I mean? Like, we talked earlier, like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, he turns into Ghost Rider for the first time, and he's like, well, let me make you a deal. That's why he was made into Ghost Rider in the first place. But if he had been doing it for 10 years already, then I think it would have smoothed things over a little bit.
Father Malone, I believe you just made this movie 1,000 times better.
Oh. I do what I can.
No, seriously.
But
that sounds great. That's truer to the character. That brings in a whole new aspect of he's a guy dealing with being Ghost Rider, not just having Ghost Rider happen to him.
The problem with origin stories is, if we're seeing the character for the first time, that's the origin story, right?
Yeah.
Like, you and I are now being introduced to it, but that doesn't mean that the character can't have been doing it for years and years. Like, one of the things I really liked about Sam Hamm's script for the original Batman was, in every interview I read with him, he said, like, I could not imagine anything more boring than seeing this guy train for years and then finally put on the costume. Let's start when he's already been Batman for a few weeks or a month. You know what I mean? People are already talking about the Bat. Why not have this legend of the Ghost Rider? Like, how about we have Roxy? She's interviewing Johnny Blaze, but really she's doing a story about Ghost Rider. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
She's come to interview him because he's the top motorcycle guy, but really she's just doing a story about Ghost Rider. Like, not having any idea that he is actually Ghost Rider, but, like, let's talk to other people who do motorcycle stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, get their opinion on this legend of this flaming skull ghost riding motorcycle guy, you know?
Or you can be something where the Nicolas Cage, Johnny Blaze, used the Ghost Rider motif as an advantage to, push his career.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like telling everybody he's Ghost Rider a la Iron Man, but using the moniker of like, I'm as fearless as the Ghost Rider.
Right.
Or like,
there you go.
As like a mythical creature or the Rider or whatever you want to call
it. And
it.
how cool would it be that Donald Logue knows?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That
you know what I mean? Like, Johnny, like, you're pushing it too hard. Clearly you died on the last stunt. You should be dead. People are going to start questioning stuff if you don't rein it in.
It brings context to that character, brings depth to that character, lets everybody in the audience know, like, this character actually is important to Johnny.
Yeah.
And when they have, like, a falling out, potentially, it means something instead of just, oh, he's not there anymore. Oh, okay. I don't have funny wit anymore. That's too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Like, and we always say, like, we don't like the character who is our eyes. You know what I mean? The sort of like in the Hellboy, the first Hellboy, they had that guy who gets introduced to the BPRD.
Kid. Yeah, the kid. Yeah.
Who cares about him? Like, I don't need that character to get into the BPRD. We just jump in and we're there.
What is there anything else you would do to fix this movie in the story, the plot realm of things?
This is just a personal thing.
Sure.
As a fan of the comic book, I like the fact that Johnny Blaze struggles with Zarathos as a character.
Right.
I like the fact. I like the idea that he's constantly fighting this thing, and I think it could have been dramatically dynamic if it's a struggle for him every night to just do the right thing.
Actually, I got it right here. I can tell you right now how you can fix this part. If you want to see him, like, struggle with being Ghost Rider and things like that, where he's dealing with the spirit. In the scene where he's dealing with the Rebel Wilson and the Mugger.
Yes.
Right? It could easily be where The mugger, yes, is a bad person, and is dealt with right away. He's dealt with like exactly how he is in the film. Then when he looks into Rebel Wilson, he sees that she's not a good person either.
Oh!
She is actually, she does drugs. She stole money from her family or whatever like that.
Yeah.
You could bring it in where he just stares at her and he sees what she has done wrong in the past, and he now wants to judge her. And then you can have the Nick Cage personality come out, the Johnny Blaze personality come out and fight it and be like, no, she's an innocent. Like, she's just made mistakes. Like,
yes.
No. There's worse people in the world. Let's take care of them. And have it fight, like, have an internal fight.
Yeah.
And, I'm sorry, there is one person in this world that I believe has an internal struggle in his life is Nick Cage. Like, have him just talking to him. If there's a movie of Nick Cage just talking to himself, I need to see this movie at all times. Like, I buy
he
it.
is every single day.
I buy it, and like they did it in Lord of the Rings later with Smeagol.
Yeah.
They've done it in other films very easily, done very well. And I think if you have like a Nicolas Cage character dealing with another version of himself in his own mind, like, that's up his alley.
I know, man. Yeah, have him play both parts.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
You're not using Nick Cage to his fullest extent.
Yeah, it. Now that you say it, it's absolutely bonkers that they didn't. And I think if they had said to him, here's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be playing this guy, Johnny Blaze, and then you're going to be dealing with this demon who... I think, like, the problems I had with his performance, the stuff that he brought to it, the fucking jelly beans and the monkey videos and all that kind of stuff, I don't think he would have gone for any of that, because he'd be like, I'm going to focus 100% on Johnny Blaze and just make him this tortured guy, and I get to play this insane demon who's tormenting him. Perfect.
Absolutely.
We're making this movie better.
That's making the movie better. You have a tormented main character, and it's a shame that Nicolas Cage isn't allowed to do this in this film. I think they touch on it a little, extremely a little bit in Spirit of Vengeance, where he's playing more of a tortured guy.
Yeah.
Because he wants to get rid of his power, and they end up doing that in that movie. But in the first film, they needed to set that up. And they didn't do that at all.
Yeah.
He's essentially just a werewolf that's cognizant of what he's doing.
Right.
And that's odd.
Right, yeah. Like, it seems like the only problem he has with Ghost Rider is that it makes him late for dates.
Yes.
I have one other plot thing that
Oh, sure.
I think I could have made the movie better.
Yeah.
Why wasn't there a villain on a vehicle? Why wasn't there a counterpart to Ghost Rider? His whole thing is he rides around on a motorcycle. He gets to do it one time just because he's chasing after a wind character. Why wasn't there a chase scene or a fight scene from the point of view of him on a motorcycle and the villain in some other sort of demonic vehicle? The way this movie has it, the motorcycle is nothing more than a conveyance to get him from one place to another. Yeah. Whereas they've made him a stunt driver who can do amazing things on that bike, and then when he's Ghost Rider, he does nothing. He does, like, the one thing, which admittedly is really good when he drives up the side of the motorcycle, or he drives in a river at one point. It's kind of cool looking, whatever. But it doesn't further anything. It doesn't pay off in any way, shape, or form.
It's not even that he needed necessarily a person to be a counterpart to him. They could have just added the chase of the wind guy, or a chase of the earth guy, like some sort of chase where... Again, I completely agree with, like, how come a Ghost Rider movie does not have a chase scene?
Yeah,
it's odd.
It's insane.
He is a motorcycle expert. Like, why is he not using it more?
How about the devil has been perfectly happy with a different Ghost Rider who's been doing the job and has now flipped to the other side, right? So he's like, okay, Johnny, now I need to call you in because the one who I have on my side is now working for my son, and he's going to fuck shit up. You need to jump in and take care of this guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, the Blackheart converts the other Ghost Rider by corrupting him.
Right.
Somehow. Yeah, no.
Fights totally with that guy. Like, you keep clashing with that guy throughout the entire movie, and then Johnny Blaze finally destroys him, and then you have to deal with Blackheart, and he can't, and then Johnny Blaze can't do it alone. He needs the help of Carter Slade to do it.
So there's 3 Ghost Riders on the screen.
Oh my God.
Okay, I mean, come on.
Dude, you know what? This movie should have been called Ghost Riders, and then they have, like, a dozen of them. It would have been amazing.
And you know what? In the nerdiest of nerd things, make that other Ghost Rider Danny Ketch.
Totally, man.
And then have it at the end of the movie.
Yes, and he flips back.
And he flips back, and it's like, where am I? Who am I? I don't know what I am.
Now, yeah, exactly. Like, have it be the same sort of situation where he, like the werewolf thing we keep talking about, where the demon has decided it's going to side with Blackheart.
Yes.
And now at one point, Danny Ketch is
fuck you, man. Like, I'm in control of this body.
It's one of those things where it's a time period thing, I think. I think it makes the movie better, 100%. But just to somewhat rationalize it, which is dumb, because they could have just made this movie a $1 billion franchise by having 3 Ghost Riders.
Yeah, man. They could have given them all separate movies and stuff, like origin stories. Like,
well, no, because they could have done spin-offs, and they could have just had it where Nicolas Cage did one outing as Johnny Blaze, and then you could follow Danny Ketch. Again, I think it's more modern thinking. If these movies were made now...
I know. No one was thinking... They were thinking franchise, but they were thinking, like, here's part 1. Here's part 2.
Yeah.
Here's part 3 with the same character. They weren't thinking of sort of a universe where these characters inhabit.
Which, I mean, again, this is something that it got evolved into as opposed to just stumbling across it. Kevin Feige worked his way through a horrible amount of movies that he himself worked on to eventually find, oh no, we work better when we're all together. So there you go. Overall consensus of talking about technical stuff is, if it's just done better, it would have been a better movie. Yeah. So I mean, just some of the extra things I would say is, like, the movie just doesn't feel polished enough, especially for a movie where you're investing a lot of money. Save some of that for polishing things. There's that CGI scene where the chain goes through the spikes. The sense of there's no presence to the skeleton itself. It's just a skeleton. It's some just odd things that really stand out.
You know what was a technical thing that, like, bugged the hell out of me?
What?
Like, they make him a motorcycle daredevil character, and every time he does a stunt, they, like, go into slow motion, and we don't ever really get to see the stunt. It doesn't. It's never impressive. It's just like, have real stunt people do real stunt things, and as an audience, we'll be like, holy shit, somebody almost died, as opposed to, like, this clearly CGI bullshit. Like, he's jumping over 14 Apache CGI helicopters. Yeah, or whatever. Like, who cares?
25.
Oh, what? How much was it?
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because no matter what it was pixels in a computer. Like, it didn't look real at all.
Yeah.
Do some crazy shit, and then we'll follow this character into hell.
You know, to again stay on the technical stuff here, is the score of this movie is just so forgettable. I actually can't even remember one bit of it.
No, not at all.
And then there's
the song choices are dreadful.
They're dreadful, except for in the very beginning where he's talking about don't step on her.
Don't step on Karen Carpenter.
Which is okay. I buy.
You know what the thing is? Like, I can't say the Karen Carpenter stuff is bad, because Karen Carpenter's a fucking great singer.
Yeah.
The Carpenters, as a band, are one of my favorites of all time. Does it fit in this movie? No. And the use of Ghost Riders in the sky, covered by some bullshit band at the end, is the most obvious, stupid shit I've ever heard in my life. Like, that song came up at when the credits started rolling. I was like, are you this lame? It's like, oh look, hey Nail, let me hit you right on the head. You know?
Let me just cut in really quick and just say this. Lex, please don't listen to this next part. Please don't listen to the next part. It's like when Fall Out Boy covered the Ghostbusters theme. Oh my god, that was the worst thing I've ever heard.
Really?
Yeah. Alright, Lex, you can start listening now.
No, Lex. Lex, he's making fun of the Ghostbusters theme by Fall Out Boy. It's good. I liked it.
I didn't like it at all.
Okay. I didn't like the that sort of weird chorus, I'm not afraid part.
It's really bad.
I gotta say, when I heard that song, when they released it, right? So I, like, listened to it on YouTube or whatever.
We're talking about bad covers, which does connect with Ghost Rider.
Yes.
So there you go.
Okay. So I heard that song and I was like, what the fuck is this? Really? They couldn't do better than this shit? When I saw it in context in the movie, I was like, oh, it's fine.
Yeah, in context of the movie, I guess it does fit better.
I don't want to listen to it outside that movie.
Overall song, I did not like at all. And it's funny because they did a cover of, and staying off topic, they did a cover of one of the songs from Jungle Book. Oh my god, Man's Red Fire, King Louis song.
Oh, I wanna walk like you, talk like you.
Fantastic. They did a great job. In fact, another band, Panic! At the Disco, did a great cover song of Queen for the Suicide Squad movie. I mean,
they did Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yeah. And you couldn't even tell it was them.
I couldn't.
Exactly.
I thought it was actually Queen.
There is some bands that are capable of doing covers, which in this movie, to bring it back, they didn't do.
No.
They did it really bad.
It was terrible.
Again.
Now here's a weird fact.
Okay,
right?
sure.
Okay, in 1949, a very popular song on the radio was Ghost Riders in the Sky, and it inspired Dick Ayers and these other writers to come up with the character of Ghost Rider.
The Phantom Rider part?
The original Ghost Rider.
Oh, okay,
character.
yeah.
So I can't be mad at the choice to use it, but at the same time, it's so goddamn obvious. Don't use it. There's a million songs that you could go through. As a filmmaker, you have access to everything that's out there. Don't do the most obvious stupid thing.
If you gave him an epic score, that helps a movie so much. A score that really makes you remember a movie helps a movie a lot. Just things like this would change and help the film a lot. Like, now, is there any other thing that you think that could make this movie better? Because I would cut out that highway scene entirely. Mm-hmm. I think it's just fat on the film.
Yeah.
You can have
it's very cutesy.
You can have that whole conversation happen right after the interview.
Yeah, or during the interview.
Or during the interview, which kind of did happen.
Yeah, I mean, but it didn't pay off. But they thought, won't it be cute if he's riding his motorcycle and, like, trying to woo her while she's driving? Who gives a shit? It's stupid.
What it was it made him look, because his behavior was like a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Made him look like a 12-year-old, and Nicolas Cage certainly is not a 12-year-old.
No. So ultimately, this is not a great movie.
Ultimately, this is not a great movie, but
it is a worthy character. It deserves better.
It could have been made better.
I think we've delineated exactly how it could have been made better.
All right, just to kind of wrap things up, let's talk a little bit of the future of Ghost Rider that we would like to see. Not to get too fanboyish or anything like that. Who, in your opinion, should be the next Ghost Rider?
Actor-wise?
Actor-wise, actress-wise, anything you want.
Ooh, that's tough. I've always said and I've maintained that I would like whoever the next Ghost Rider is to be an unknown. I think Gabriel Luna,
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. guy.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. guy as Robbie Reyes was great. I think he was so much better than Nicolas Cage. I mean, those are apples and oranges because Johnny Blaze is not Robbie Reyes. I get that, but I believed that guy. I thought he was really good. So I think somebody like that, somebody under the radar. I'm not there for the human guy. I'm there for the flaming skull.
Yeah.
As long as whoever it is can sort of hold my interest in between moments of the Ghost Rider, like, kicking ass, I'm good. Why? Who do you think?
Well, I mean, I think the safe choice would be like a Charlie Hunnam. He has the moniker of being Sons of Anarchy guy.
Yeah.
I think.
He can ride a bike. It'd be perfect.
He's a safe choice. I think if anybody you pick, he's probably the number one choice just based on career choices, and the man can act apparently, because in World of Z he was apparently great. I haven't seen the film.
Are you saying Charlie Hunnam for Johnny Blaze or Denny Ketch?
Ooh, for him I'd go Johnny Blaze.
Yeah?
I think I would.
Huh.
Because Danny Ketch, honestly, it sounds weird, but Norman Reedus is Danny Ketch. I would buy.
Oh, okay. You know what? Now that you said that, I was going to say Charlie Hunnam would be really good.
You need somebody that can play
Norman
Dick
Reedus.
really well.
There's something about him. There's something scruffy and weird.
Yeah.
But as Danny Ketch, I think he'd be perfect.
I think the most logical step next, however, would be Ghost Rider meets Doctor Strange. Like in the Doctor
man.
Strange
I mean, if
sequel,
they want to bring him into the MCU, it's
way.
a natural.
And then I think you could see where the next step after that, horror superhero film.
How about Doctor Strange like you said, like he goes to hell, Ghost Rider helps him out, he helps Ghost Rider out, and now Ghost Rider's on the road.
All right, well, I believe that's all we got to say about Ghost Rider and how we can make it better and all those things like that. So thanks for listening. Please check out our Twitter and email at WTIFHS. It's WTIFHS. Stay tuned for another episode on the way. Before the end of the show, I'd like to thank all you those that listen, and I'd like to give special tribute to the patron saint of all podcasts, Captain Cold. Any wise words of wisdom, Michael?
Thank you, Captain Cold. And say catchphrase.
Imperious Rex.
Imperious Rex! Ah, it's new! Awesome.
We'll take it from here.